Okay, today's lecture will be devoted to the ADAS model. The assumption here is that prices, we are in a medium run, so prices change in the medium run. In the short run, the assumption of the ISLM model was that prices were fixed in the short run. Now, the first thing we have to do is to consider the AD or aggregate demand relation. This is very simple if we use the equilibrium GDP derived in the SLM model, which was delta 0 A, where A contains all the autonomous components, plus delta 1, which multiply the real money stock. And using this equation, what we can see is the effect of change in price on the equilibrium GDP in the ISLM model. What I mean is that an increase in PRI, given the nominal money supply by the central bank, it's equivalent to a reduction in real money stock. So it's equivalent to restrictive monetary policy. And this implies to a reduction in money. We can also represent this case in the money market, where we have the interest rate, real money demand, and real money supply. This line should be vertical. So money supply with a level of price equal to P1 will imply an interest rate equal to I star 1. But if prices increase to a level P2, which is greater than P1, real money stock will decrease, so it's equivalent to a restrictive monetary policy, implying an increase in the interest rate. The opposite applies if prices decrease. This is equivalent to an expansionary monetary policy to a reduction in interest rate. Okay, now we can represent this relation, and we can consider the space in which the DS model is represented. We have prices and income. The AD relation is a negative relation. Is a negative relation between GDP in equilibrium and prices. If prices increase, this is equivalent to a restrictive monetary policy, so we have a decrease in real GDP. We can visualize also the effect of positive demand shock will imply a shift to the right. This also applies to increase in money supply, so expansionary monetary policy. So if we have an expansionary monetary policy, an expansionary fiscal policy, an increase in trust for firms and households, an increase in global GDP, the AD relation will shift on the right, which means that for each level of price, you will have GDP in equilibrium, a higher GDP in equilibrium. The opposite holds if we have a reduction in the autonomous components of aggregate demand. In this case, we have a shift to the left, to this relation, and the same if we have a restrictive monetary policy. We have a shift to the left. That is everything about the AD relation. Okay, now we need to derive the aggregate supply, the AS relation, which is the other relation we need to consider in the video. We start with the labor market, assuming that in the labor market we have worker or union, workers or unions and firms. We have these two subject or these two aggregate. Okay, uh, the level of wage time t that can be that union are able to ask or are able to obtain is a function of two variables z and u and another variable pte, and I'm going to explain each one of these variables. So it's a function. The first variable I want to explain, because it's the most important variable, is the unemployment rate, u. This decrease, so it's a negative effect on the wage, on the nominal wage that unions can bargain. Because if the unemployment rate is higher, increases or is higher, there are a lot of people available, um, so there is available for every job. So in this case, the union are able to bargain a lower level of wage. Z is a variable which represents the job market structure and the power of union, the union power. So if this Z increases, there is in some sense an increasing power, union power, and uh, they can bargain a higher wage. PTE represents the expectation of prices at time t, because when union bargain a wage, they need to consider their expectation for price between now and the next period. Now we can consider an assumption about this expectation. We assume that the expectation of price at time t is a myopic expectation, so it's equal to the price at time t minus 1. So the expectation of union and worker about prices at the end of the period are equal to the price today. And we can write this relation as Wt equal to a function of z and u, which multiplies prices times t minus 1. We can divide both sides by prices at t minus 1, and we derive the real wage, which is the ratio between nominal wage and prices. We can also represent this relation on a picture in which we have the unemployment rate on the horizontal axis. Real wage would be a decreasing function of the unemployment rate, as we have seen before, and this is the function. So for each level of unemployment rate, you have the corresponding value of the corresponding value of the real wage that union are able to bargain. Uh, Increase in Z implies a shift of this relation to the right, because for each level of unemployment, union will be able to bargain a higher level of real wage. The opposite, if we have a reduction in union power, we will observe a shift to the left. So for each level of unemployment, we will have a reduction a reduction in real wage. For instance, flexibility on labor market is a reduction in power of union workers, and can be interpreted as a reduction in Z, so a reduction in real wage.